James, lovely to see you. We've been mates for many years. I've had the pleasure of knowing you for that length of time. Other people don't know you. So just tell us a bit about yourself, your family, and where you're currently working.
David, it's good to see you. Thank you for phoning. It's lovely. This is great, isn't it? It's not just on the end of the line. I can actually see your shining face. It's gorgeous. So my name is James Gwyn Thomas. I'm the minister over the border, really, in a different diocese in Buckshaw Village Church, which is sandwiched between Chorley and Leyland. It's a church plant. So it's a very, very new kind of church, but I've been here for 8 years now, astonishingly. I've got 2 little children, one about 2 and one about 7, and one wife.
Fantastic, excellent. And I know that as part of Buckshaw Church is a church that's grown significantly. It's a new church plant which has grown over those, well, there was ministry before you were there, but particularly in the last 8 years. And you've used sort of small groups or small groups. I think you call them quads as part of your growth strategy. Can you just tell us a bit about quads?
Well, I think very rapidly we realised that discipleship happens most effectively not on a Sunday necessarily, but actually in a closer relationship, in a smaller group, where Bible study can kind of take longer, questions can be raised, and also that's where relationships are formed. I think we're very aware Sunday is by nature very didactic. There's one person up front nattering on for better or worse. It's either probably you or me. And people can't raise objections, they can't question, which is wonderful for us, but not so good for everybody else. And so growth groups are a wonderful way to make a little bit more time, go a little bit slower, get to know people, and also pray for specifics in their lives. And that's how we really grow. So and I'll get to the kind of small growth groups in a minute. So we started saying, okay, let's go for growth groups, and we tried to get everybody into growth groups of anywhere between 6 and 12, if you will. But then we realised there were still some people who don't fit into that model. Growth groups can tend to happen geographically. People on a street or who live locally or close to them could all gather together, or actually people who just had the same night, the same availability free. Each week they tend to get together as well. But there's a group of people who didn't necessarily have availability every week. Shift work, we've got a lot of people on shifts here, and they couldn't commit to something that meets every Thursday or every Monday. And sometimes they're all over the place. So what do we do with people like that, or people who are just so busy they can't do regularly? And so we came up with this kind of quads initiative, which has worked. Has worked for some people, but not for others, which is a group of about 4 actually, so kind of small groups, and that's really worked, because then those 4 can just get their diaries together whenever and say, well, when can we all next do? And that's helpful. So you've got some quads that meet once a month, some that meet every other week, some that meet every 6 weeks, or even every 8 weeks. So it's a much longer drawn out process. But for them, it's been great. It's been very beneficial.
Brilliant. And so, yeah, I mean, you were talking about people with, shift work and things like that. So presumably one of the strengths of a quad is you're not trying to get 8 or 12 people together, you're just trying to get 4 folk together, and that just perhaps diary-wise becomes a bit easier. And presumably, if all 4 can't meet, well, perhaps 3 of them can meet. Is that, you do that as well?
Absolutely, yeah. It's very, very flexible, and in a way, it's far more intimate as well. And so I've been part of a quad myself personally. I've got a growth group that I meet with every week, every Monday. But I've also got a quad that I'm part of. Now, as a quad, we've been going for 6 years now, I guess. And we have literally sometimes, depending on what it's like, they're all very, very busy gentlemen. So sometimes we've only met 6 or 8 times a year. But it's been really quality time. And over the course of that 6-8 years, we've really gone through an awful lot together. And you pray for each other in a very close and personal way. Those are the core people that you say, it's really nice knowing that I've got people behind me. They've got my back. And I can just text them, even if we're not meeting. We've got a WhatsApp group together, and say, listen, can you just text for, can you just pray for this right now? And it's a lovely, you form a great relationship as a four.
Brilliant. And I mean, have you found that sort of you have a deeper, perhaps even more accountable relationship with a quad than, you know, perhaps where you can be slightly anonymous in a small group, growth group, house group, whatever you call them?
I think so. Sorry, David. Excuse me. I think you've got a possibility to get a very similar group of people together when you've got a four, whereas with growth group, almost you need a leader to say, okay, well, we'll put that person in that group and that person in that group. And it just works that way, either geographically or with availability. But with quads, actually, people can get themselves together sometimes in interest groups. And so that's actually how our quads have worked. I've got four in particular that I'm thinking of, four different quads. And they all got together because they were interested in the same thing. So we've got a group of ladies who got together because they were reading the similar books. And it was kind of based around a book group. And that turned into a prayer quad from there and a Bible study from there. There was another one, a group of guys who just love biscuits, and they got together and they all brought a different biscuit every week, and they just got together, drank tea, 8 different biscuits, and had a Bible study together. And then there's another one that was based around beer, different kind of craft beer. They would all bring just the odd different bottle of craft beer, and I myself. For better or worse, we have a whiskey quad, so we all chip in together as well, which is lovely. Every time one of us have a birthday, we buy each other a kind of collective bottle of whiskey, and it was always on a school night, David. We're never very late, and we have tiny little bits, but we use long language, and we pretend we know what we're talking about, and we sniff it and say it smells like toffee, and isn't that exciting? And then we do a bit of
the whiskey that smells like toffee.
And then so we'll try a little bit of one, and then we'll read a passage and ask some questions, and we'll try a little bit of another, and that's great. It can go on, whereas a growth group, I guess, has a very set time and start time and end time. Quads, you think we meet so rarely. Let's give a whole evening to this, and it's lovely.
That's brilliant.
So it's been really good. You don't cover as much material because we don't meet so regularly, but those guys are now guys that I'm very close to. Yeah,
love that. And I mean, in terms of sort of resources or materials that the quads that you use, it's Burscough, we're calling them micro groups, same sort of thing. But where do people get the resources, or what do you use when those quads come together?
Well, again, they've morphed into a different entity to growth groups for us. Whereas growth groups, I guess as a leadership team of church, we can say, well, this is what we're going through this season as growth groups, or we can suggest resources to growth group leaders and say, would you like to do this with your growth group? Whereas quads, you've often got a mix of people at various stages in their Christian journey. You've got some maybe who aren't very comfortable praying out loud. You've got other people who are more confident. But very often they've chosen their own resources, and they can say, well, where are we at just as a group of friends? And they're able to choose their own and say, what is useful for us as a group? And so kind of as my group, we've gone through stuff which has been really helpful for us as men, and say, well, listen, let's go through this. Let's challenge one another. Let's be accountable to one another. We've also gone through a great study on David, which took us the best part of 3 years, actually. So it's kind of far more drawn out. But you can go to your church leader and say, what have we got as a church? And then you take a selection maybe back to your micro group and say, what would we like to do? And we decide amongst ourselves. Whereas our growth groups might sometimes be video based. We like a lot of those in growth groups, but quads tends to be, you can pick and choose whatever is relevant for that group of people and be far more specific, I think.
Yeah, I love that. And I mean, it's interesting you mentioned the sort of high level of support and kind of prayer for one another, but also accountability, because we've sort of felt that's something that was important, because sometimes sort of small groups, house groups, growth groups can be very comfortable places where we meet with our friends, we have a lovely time, and all that's great. But that business of, spurring one another on in the faith and encouraging one another and holding one another accountable as well. I do think that's an important value, and that seems to be built into your quad system.
I think it happens very naturally when you've just got that many. And also what we've seen, I think praying out loud is something that doesn't come naturally to us as Christians always. But it's a beautiful thing to strive towards doing. And even if it makes you feel really uncomfortable, quads is something where a lot of people have thought, okay, well, I can give it a go in quads. You're my friends. I can pray for 2 or 3 of you. And people have loved it. That's been their journey into saying, well, I don't mind praying out loud anymore. I've been doing it in a quad. I can do it in a larger meeting as well. And so it's really taken a lot of people on a lovely journey. Actually, it's helpful, and those relationships have lasted a lot.
Brilliant. And just that's a final one to throw at you, James. Is for yourself, from the quad that you've been a part of, apart from discovering wonderful single malts, etc.
We are whiskey snobs.
What would you say for your own Christian journey? What have been the real benefits of your micro group, your quad?
Can I be really honest, actually, David? I think, and I wonder if you'll recognise this as a minister as well, I'm going to unmask us ever so briefly. There are sometimes moments where we think, oh, I've got to go and lead this. I'm not sure I can do this today. And we've just got to go and do it. And we lead a study or we lead a meeting. And it can be tiring. But I've never felt that with a quad, because often there's a greater element of friendship. There's a greater element of interest as well. So you think, I don't always lead my quad. In fact, one of the other gentlemen has kind of noticed that I'm often the one as minister to lead a lot of the Bible studies, and he naturally took it on himself to lead for me, which I have appreciated no end, if I'm honest. And so I feel that in this quad that I've been doing for 6 years now, I'm not the minister. I am James, and I think that's really important for all of us, whatever we do, whether we're ordained or not. I've got friends. I've got real friends, and that's a lovely and very rare thing. But I think that's something that every human needs, whether we're ordained, whether we work, whether we're at home. It's lovely to be part of a group that you think, yeah, that group of people get me, and I can be vulnerable. I can say anything. They're not going anywhere, and that's time for me with my friends to talk about something that really matters. To talk about eternal things and God things, and ask people not just, oh, how are you, and expect them to say fine, but say, no, how are you? And then I can pray for them and see how God's working in their lives. And it's an incredibly meaningful group for me. Brilliant,
James. Thank you very much indeed for your time. As ever, always a delight to see you, even if in this instance it's via a Zoom call. I really, really appreciate you taking time to talk to us about quads. You're a good egg.
Thanks, David. Lovely seeing you. You take care.
Yeah, bye.
Thanks.